Hi, Briony here on the Winter Solstice 2020. I'm on the island of Gozo in the Mediterranean, where I'm currently dwelling for the winter. And I've been asked to record and share my perspective on the wheel that gives a shape to the cycles of a year, a day, a month, and a lifetime. So, here we go. I'll put my sources in the notes below the video. Just for taking a moment to feel this land, this sea, this wind, this sky, the plants around me, the birds, all the life I dwell among, all the kin. So in the north of the wheel, today, the winter solstice, we are at the apex of the north. The north is midwinter, midnight, death, menstruation, bleeding time. So it has these qualities of rest, of blackness, of stillness, of the velvet black, the nourishing dark. In Hawaii, they call it the pono, not to be confused with porno, with an R. It doesn't have an R in it, just P-O-N-O, pono. And they say everybody loves the pono because they know it's the nourishment. It takes care of them. The velvet black is the recharge station for all living batteries. We go to sleep early and we wake up late, and we cease our caffeine and let our adrenals recharge and let our bodies drop down. It's a hibernation time, a pause, a quiescence in the land and the creatures and the humans. Yeah, it's death, it's midnight, it's the north. We'll go a few times around the wheel, we'll get to know. Then you have the northeast, Imbolc in the Celtic calendar. Early February, it's germination, it's seeding. It's when the snowdrops are shooting through the snow in northern countries. It's conception of a new life within a woman. Yeah, it's the pre-dawn when monks get up to pray and meditate, and yogis wake to do their pre-dawn yoga. Apparently, some do. Pre-sunrise. Then you have the east, spring equinox, dawn. Bum! The sun comes over the horizon. Birth, baby arrives. In the menstrual cycle, it's this kind of fresh time where if you've rested while bleeding, then you feel fresh. And it's quite straightforward, quite hormonally simple time. Then you have southeast. It's 10 a.m. Work is starting, computers are out, meetings are happening. It's childhood, off we go. You're at school, you're learning, you're playing, you're having friends, you're growing up. It's Beltane, it's May Day. Crops are in the ground, they're growing away busily. Growth is busily happening. Then you have south, summer solstice. Midsummer, fires, stay up all night, festivals. Glastonbury Festival is usually on the summer solstice, I believe, or it was meant to be this year, but cancelled for COVID. Youth, fecundity, sexuality, embodiment, fire, heat, midday, everything's going. Yeah, life in full steam, burn the fires, summer. In the menstrual cycle, it's ovulation, right? It's fertility. I find when I'm on a dance floor and I'm ovulating, I don't think guys really understand what's happening, but I dance with one man and then I can't breathe before another man comes to me. I'm giving off some kind of ovulatory yumminess, and you want to have a lot of sex and you're horny, and it's like, you know, the juices with us. Our bodies are wanting to make babies. Oh, I've lost my microphone. Is it still working? Pause, scarf, mic moment. Hope you heard that. Okay. Southwest. Lamas. Early August. It's the siesta after lunch. It's the exhalation after summer. It's slowing down. The crops are maturing. The hard work of farming in the spring and the summer is kind of calming down. You're just sort of waiting for things to mature, I guess. There's quite a lot of harvest happening. In a life cycle, it's maybe your 30s and your 40s. It's a kind of settling. You settle into your marriage or your parenting or your home or your community or your career or your life's calling. Yeah. When you get to the west, autumn equinox, and in a day it's evening, it's dinner time. It's time to gather and share stories and connect, or maybe go to your dancing class or your choir or your story group or something. It's time to come back together. It's harvest in a year. It's the autumn equinox. It's late September. It's the harvest festival. It's bounty. It's harvest. In a life cycle, it's middle age. And we're harvesting the gifts of our maturity, our experience. In a menstrual cycle, it's beginning to become premenstrual, and it's this equinox time where the days are equal to the night and the light is equal to the dark. Our energy is half out and half in. Yeah, you're in middle age, you're still in the world, but you're spending a bit more time at home. Needing those earlier nights, needing that bit more rest and quiet time, you time. In the premenstrual time, it's a time when you start seeing the flaws, the shadows, the problems, and the hormones of the east and the south have carried you through. Everything's great, it's fine, off we go, I'm happy, I'm well. By the time you get to the west, you're like, this isn't working, we need to talk about this. Northwest, it's 11 p.m, it's bedtime, it's old age. Bill Plotkin calls this being, I think, the sage in the mountain cage. The mountain cave, not the cage. You're reducing. I heard an older lady once say, she said, I'm getting physically smaller but spiritually bigger. Old elders become the bridge between the worlds. The tending of the old memory, the bridge between the past and the future, the living and the dead, the human world and the more than human world. It's bedtime, old age. It's Samhain. It's October 31st, right? It's October to November. And it's the time at Halloween, but Samhain in the pagan calendar, and it's the time when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. We have Halloween, we have Dia de los Muertos, we have rituals to remember our ancestors and remember our mortality, skeletons. Winter is coming. Not all of us are going to make it. We're entering, in the cold countries, we're entering the death times. Midnight, death, deep sleep, winter solstice today, blood, the red tent, hibernation, the pause, the black, the dark. And the cycle begins again, and now between now and Imbolc, what is this period? Okay, we have our Yuletide, right? We have the times of bringing abundance and conviviality and light and feasting and gift giving and singing and dancing to a time of hush and emptying and cold and quiet. We bring in the light, but then we chill, we rest. In the life-death cycle, it's a time of decay and decomposition. It's when the ants and the flies and the bacteria and the fungus come in to break apart this thing that was a Briony, this thing that was a tree, and to break it back into its constituent parts, that newness can start to be made from it again in the spring. If we think this kind of dying and decomposing time by the hot countries and the cold countries, right? In the cold countries, it's this kind of north to northeast composting, recycling, renewal. In the hot countries, it's the south to the southeast. This is when creatures will die of thirst and of heat. Some people won't make it through the fires or the heat waves. And in the north, the cold countries, some people won't make it through the cold. Some animals won't make it through the cold and the snows. So it's when there's a dying off of many species, a decomposing. And then we need the flies, the ants, the sharks, the recycling plants, the compost piles, and newness comes again. And this is the cycle. So, drawing from Native American and pagan traditions, when we call in the directions and we orient ourselves to the directions and to the cycles, there's qualities to each of the directions. In the east, hold on, have a little tea. In the east, we have the quality of newness, beginner's mind, openness, possibility, listening, not knowing, curiosity, air, the element of air. In the south, we have the element of fire, of form, of heat, of creativity, of energy that works through us. Creative energy, musical energy, dancing energy, drumming energy, sexual energy. Fire, heat, south. In the west, we have water, water's emotion, soul, shadow, gifts. Bill Plotkin talks about our shadows being the long black bag of everything we don't want to see. I just had to swipe away a notification. Everything we don't want to see in ourselves that we're kind of dragging around our back, behind our backs. And as we do our shadow work, we come to know our souls and the gifts within them. Often the shadow is hiding, concealing the gifts. So we kind of dismantle it and our souls can come through, and we can, in my case, bring the song. In other people's case, bring what they're here to do. Emotion, feeling, waters in the west. In the north, it's the territory of mineral and the way that the stones carry the long memory on the planet, right? The trees carry memory for maybe some hundreds of years. The stones carry memory of millennia. North is structure, the structures of management, organization, money, technology, resources, time that support the flow of things, keep things working well. And it's the structure of rocks and mountains that keep the land together. And it's the ancestors, the rock memory, the bone memory, the long lineage that we're a part of, and the stories that carry through the generations. It can also be about the gifts of the ancestors, giving them our acknowledgement, our memory, our thanks, and also acknowledging the wounds of the previous eras, the wounds of the wars, of the colonialism, of the occupations, I suppose, or the layers that we need to heal to get into a healthier relationship with ourselves and the rest of life. With the directions, when we call them in, when you look to the earth, it's like, wow, we're on a living, sentient, sacred, good-feeling, composting, genius planet that is spinning and orbiting in a frigging epic universe. We live in a communion of planets and stars, some of them shooting, that's mind-blowing, and we get to be these living, animate children of the earth, upon her, with her, from her, returning to her, among a community of stars. Holy fuck. The earth. And we look to the sky, it's the same thing. Hello to our cosmic neighbourhood. Blimey. And as singers, when I lead the directions with singers, it's always like, wow, thank you for our primary material. Hello, I take in air, I give out song, and it's invisible to us, right? It's like, why notice the air? But wow, in California after the fires, everybody was talking about air quality, when it's too bad that people can't leave their homes or open their windows, despite being sheltering in place with COVID and friggin' masks on 24/7, because the fires make the air quality dangerous to breathe. So, thanks for the clear air when it's here, and the primacy of the air. You stop this for 1 or 2 minutes and we die very quickly. So we're on a kind of life support machine called breathing. Yeah, and then when we call in the directions, the next one is the center. And I love this about the directions, we're acknowledging us. It's non-dualism, right? It's not that we're here mere mortals and like God is a bloke up there. It's like, no, all of this is our sacred living world, and we're a part of it. Our body, our heart, our truth, our intelligence, our personality, our gifts, our sex, our everything that we bring to the circle. Here we are, us, the center of us. And the final center is the center between us, whether we're 2 or 10 or 100, acknowledging the power of people coming together and the whole that is greater than the sum of our parts. That is a power that deserves recognition in prayer when we call in the directions. Also, when I lead it in my groups, I name the qualities that I want to be there in the group: compassion, kindness, authenticity, support, heart. You know, as a leader, you can bring qualities into the field when you acknowledge and name and give words to the circle. Yeah, so a Native American prayer. Oh, the final thing to say is, as you call in the directions, it's nice to acknowledge, so I'm sort of fondling the plant to my left, it's nice to acknowledge the lands, the place, and all who dwell, all our kin who dwell near and far, the plants, which each have their consciousness and their sentience, which the deeper you go into nature connection, the more you directly experience plant consciousness. And also the creatures, the birds, the insects, the four-leggeds, the fish nation, and the elements, the rocks, as we've said, rocks, waters, air. Remembering that these are our kin, and what we borrow, what we are offered from Lakota tradition is this phrase, Aho Mitakuye, which means hello to all my relations. And in the Thanksgiving address, it sets it out, hello to the fish nation, the four-leggeds, the winged ones, etc. No one more important than the other. And this, I think, is the game changer. A bit of hunting goes on and goes on. It's the game changer from this Judeo-Christian top-down, humans above nature, masters of nature, what have you, to a more indigenous mindset in which we are kin among family. No one more important than the other. Kin with the plant, with the animals, the creatures, great and small. So when we call in the directions and we renew and remind ourselves who we are, where we sit in the family of things, what our values are, what we believe, naming our kinship with the rest of life really helps to remind us this, because it's easy to forget in modern culture. So we need help reminding. In Native American prayer traditions that I was taught, the final stage of prayer is to give it all away to one of the four elements. You sing it or release it or breathe it to the air, or you release something in the water, or you burn something in the fire, or you bury something in earth. With this attitude of great mystery, I don't know how you're going to manage this, but I trust the wheels are already in motion, and I give it away. I'm not holding on to this tightly. I give it away. I often do that with singing. I'm not going to now lead the directions on video and put it on the internet. It feels more particular and more intimate and more untechnological than that. But they're the principles, and I'll say where that comes from. And the last thing I'll say is that this menstrual cycle awareness, when we're thinking about health, women's health, our ovaries are our hormonal bosses until menopause, and at menopause leadership moves to our adrenals, and coffee depletes the adrenals, right? And in Chinese medicine, coffee is called eating tomorrow's rice today. It's kind of like getting in credit card debt with your own endocrine system, which is your energy system. So if we override the rest impulse when we're premenstrual and bleeding, because what happens is a day or two before the blood comes, we have all this estrogen, we have this progesterone, and then a day or two before the blood comes, they both, on the graph, they both go, they tank. And I know certainly for me, I become useless. I just kind of have to cocoon and lie down and not really do much. If we try and override that and drink a coffee and carry on, we're essentially getting into debt with our own adrenals. Now, if we live a lifetime that way, when we come to menopause and we switch over to the adrenals, they're tanked. We're moving into a new empty president, right? They've got nothing, and that's when we hit the rocks and need HRT and retreat from the world and have a lot of menopausal problems. So if we want lifelong vitality for women as women, this need to honour the hibernation and rest impulse when we're bleeding and in the midwinter, so this north time of the year and the north time of our cycle, go into the yin, go to sleep at 4 o'clock, shift to decaf, or go herbal, drink raspberry leaf tea or whatever, cocoon, invite your menfolk to cuddle with you, invite them to have a rest, or build a red tent and go cuddle with your sisters. And then the body gets a genuine chance for renewal. Yeah, so welcome to the winter solstice. Welcome to this time of exhalation, quiet. quiet, meditation, stillness. I don't know if I'll do this every year, but tonight online I'm leading an hour-long vocal meditation, humming. Just hum for an hour. It's been my practice for about 20 years, and you just, it's a deep, deep quietening, settling of the nervous system. Kind of lie down and go to sleep afterwards. Some of the ways I've celebrated solstice in previous years in California, we can have quiet outdoor fire meditations where there's just a fire lit and people come and go and just sit for as long as you like and meditate by the fire outdoors. And it's a time to exhale and let the busyness of the winter season start to just dismantle itself in your mind, and you enter this Yuletide period until New Year's Eve of closure, reflection, celebration, rest, bringing order, tidiness, packing the year away and getting ready for the new one, and renewal. So I hope this enriches your life. Thanks for listening this far. Happy solstice. Do you want to see? I'm just going to show you where I am. Look, it's beautiful. I'm this is Ramla Bay. I love it. I've been swimming in the sea in lots of directions with my dolphin friend who protects me from sharks, and he's a man but he's got a dolphin tattooed on his back, and and we welcomed the sunrise this morning in a cave on the opposite side of the bay, and it's beautiful. And we're above Calypso Cave here, where in the Iliad, Calypso was a nymph. She drew Ulysses from his voyage in a cave, and they were lovers for 7 years, and then he was like, no, I've got to go back to my wife now, goodbye Calypso. So hence Calypso. And I don't know if you can see, it's getting a bit long now, but just the other side there's can't really see from here, there's a disused kind of big building that we want to make into a temple. Let's see what happens. This is Gozo. And the Med. And we're looking north up to Europe. Merry solstice. Blessings. Bye-bye.